Okay. All right. Well, everybody, if you have not been on any of our trainings in person or in calls before, Robert Courtney has come to us a couple times now and he's been helping us with our social media and um, internet and how to get out there and do things through Instagram and Facebook and how to grow our business in that arena. So he came to our last meeting. What month is it now? It's October. He came in September. And so this is kind of a follow-up to that, to dig in a little bit deeper to things that we couldn't get to that day. So Robert, I'm going to turn it over to you. And then, like I said, I have everybody muted and we can unmute them when it's, when they can unmute themselves if you open it up at the end. All right, I'm going to mute myself too. So thank you so much for coming in and working with us again, Robert. We really appreciate everybody who gets to view this training had to meet certain sales for last month. So that was a pretty big deal. We had about 400 some people qualify for this call, so they will all get the recording emailed to them after. So thank you.
You are welcome. Hello, everyone. I am, obviously always super excited to talk about social media and creating strategies to help, especially when it comes to really niche markets like you guys are in. However, I think, as I always mention, I think the principles are very similar across many different industries. And so a lot of the things that I ended up finding out when I dig deep into some of the individuals that I work with Color Street, so many things that we've tried with other industries like real estate and insurance and education, even automotive industry, a lot of those strategies work with you guys. So it gets cooler and cooler every time we do one of these sessions and I find out more information. So I'm excited to talk. Anyway, with that being said, I would like to make this super informal. I want to give you guys just some real not general, but just an overview of some things that I think could help you when it comes to Facebook, and then also when it comes to Instagram that you may or may not be doing. And then I like to open it up for questions because I think, especially with this type of setting, I think the most value is going to come with the individual questions that some of you may have that may answer questions for everybody. And so I don't know if Debbie's okay with it, but I'm okay with you guys chiming in. If I say something that doesn't make sense, I'd rather just go ahead and tackle it at that moment. So feel free to unmute and jump in and let me know what you have a question about. So we'll start with Facebook because that's probably the more popular platform. Just some general things I like to cover, and some of it will overlap some of the things that we did go over in the meeting, but I like to take the opportunity to go a little deeper. So just to start, laying out a basic Facebook strategy if you are using Facebook to grow your business. Creating those objectives are super important for organization purposes. I like to tell my managers, like, we want to be 60 to 90 days out in our strategy for coming up with content. Creating content daily, especially when you have so many other things going on, so many other distractions, is probably the thing that's hardest to keep up with. And so I think using a 60 to 90 day strategy based on 3 objectives that you create. Usually in the sessions, I talk about 3 objectives that you identify with and that you feel kind of best describe you in order to grow your audience. Because I can dive a little deeper into it now, if your objective is to build an audience, which should be everybody's objective, but if your objective is to build an audience around the product that you're putting out there, then you want to think through a bigger plan that involves your branding, the name that you decided to use, making sure that that stays consistent through your Facebook page, through your domain or your website, if you decided to use a website, and your other social media channels. So you want to make sure that when you're thinking through the objectives that you're trying to accomplish, that you're doing it with the thought in mind of how is this objective consistent with all of my platforms and the domain and everything that I'm putting out to the general public about who I am and what it is that I'm doing. So that's one thing. So in establishing 3 objectives, you may establish an objective like, I'm a school teacher, or I'm a mom, or you may only have the objective to let people know about Color Street and the products that you're offering. So once you establish those 3 objectives, then the next objective after that would be to create content for that objective. So for example, if you're trying to establish an objective of I'm a relatable mother, and you're trying to tell that story through your content, then the 8 pieces of content that you create would all fall up under that particular title or theme or that objective. So you would create at that point 8 pieces of content for the title or the objective, I'm a mom. So you come up with visuals, photos, videos, articles, information that relates to the fact that you're a mom to grow your audience, and then creatively integrate your Color Street information into that so that you can tell your story. Now, if you wasn't at any of the meetings, then maybe some of that is a little advanced and over your head. So when we kind of move forward, if you don't really understand that, I can dive a little bit deeper to give you some of the backstory about telling your story, creating content, the 5 pillars that we talked about in the meeting, which would be our acronym ATTACK: audience, trust, attention, content, and consistency. This information is assuming you understand those things. Okay, so our objective is always to tell a story. We're always trying to let people know who we are, what our brand is, and then the next thing is to become as relatable as possible using these social media channels to accomplish that. All right, so back to Facebook. If you're organizing your information over a 90-day period, it works out to about 24 posts per month. Okay, so if you have 24 posts and you break it down into 3 objectives, then now you have 8 pieces of content per each objective that you're trying to accomplish with your social media content. Okay, so if you're working 3 months out, then you're at about 48 pieces of content. And then obviously if you go into a 3rd month, you're at about 72 pieces of content. And that doesn't have to be specific detailed posts or captions, but you want to kind of have a general idea or direction of how you're building your brand and the information that you're sharing to tell the story that you're trying to tell, to grow the audience that is going to be specific to you, relatable to you, and the information that you're providing. Okay, so that's kind of the first thing, just organizing content and coming up with a plan for posting that content. The next thing with Facebook is just utilizing all the features that are available. Right now, the most organic engagement that you can probably get is through Facebook groups and through Facebook Live. And so what we tell a lot of our clients is you should be scheduling probably at least 1 live at least one live broadcast per week, and then you should be managing at least or connecting at least one Facebook group to your personal page or to your business page. It's hard to keep up with all of these channels. So I think an important thing is to kind of prioritize the things that kind of come natural to you and the things that you're stronger at, and then, prioritize from that point. But also understand, where are you going to get your most organic activity? Just in case you're not familiar with that term, organic, organic would be the activity that happens when you're not paying anything. So if there's no boost or ad promotion or dollars being utilized on Facebook, you're not paying anything. All the activity that happens without any money being involved would be considered organic. And then you have paid activity. I would suggest that everyone has some type of paid plan in place, whether that's $100 a month, whether that's $50 a month, whether it's $20. You can do as low as $5 for a boosted promotion on Facebook pages. And so I would strongly recommend everyone is spending at least, or investing, I should say, at least $20 into a Facebook ad budget, and you're running at least one Facebook live broadcast, and then you're managing a Facebook group daily. All right, so those are the two kind of highest organic type of activities that you can be doing. And then,
Hey, Robert,
yes.
can I ask you what types of groups? Like, a lot of us do a VIP group for our customers. Do you have other types of groups you are suggesting?
No, any group that you have time to manage could work. It doesn't really matter whether you call it a VIP group or you call it, a girlfriend's group. The thing about Facebook is that you have to remember, the majority of people who aren't involved in Color Street or aren't business owners or aren't entrepreneurs, those people aren't there for business. Like, they are there for social activity. So with that being said, sometimes it's smart to kind of think outside the box and create groups that just gives you the opportunity to share common interests with people. So in order to grow a group faster, you may create a group that isn't necessarily a Color Street group, but the people that join the group would be individuals who think like the individual you feel would be interested in a Color Street business or interested in a Color Street product. So I don't think, obviously, I know you guys really rely on the VIP groups and some of the groups that you use to do your parties and things like that. But thinking in terms of just growing your brand and building a bigger audience, it might be smart to think outside of the box when it comes to creating a group. Just like you would create a business page, create a group page that's primarily being done to drive more activity and to drive a bigger audience.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
I have noticed some changes, I think, in groups the past couple of weeks, that people have to, it's like you can't just add people now. They have to go in and accept.
Yes.
And even when I've had people try to add them, it wasn't even letting them add them until they physically went and added themselves. So it's a little harder in some of these groups now.
Yeah, so that's, I feel like in our circle, we knew that change would come, and it's not everybody's ability to add groups hasn't been affected. It's like a slow roll, like a slow thing that Facebook is rolling out. So some people, they're making accept the invitations, and then others is still getting just automatically added. But I think very soon everybody will have to accept the invitation, and you won't just be able to add people to a group. which, from one standpoint, is not as good because it's like, you could automatically just have the amount of people that you took the time to invite be a part of your group. But the good thing is sometimes you make people upset, and sometimes it bothers people that, they just found out that they were added to X or Y group. And so the fact that somebody accepts an invitation to be a part of a group is actually better because they kind of just qualify themselves. So I think at first it may be feel like a little bit of a roadblock, but I think eventually it'll actually help because, they'll qualify themselves by accepting the invitation. And then at that point, it's just about providing good content and good information and good dialogue within the group. So I don't think that would be necessarily a bad thing. But same thing kind of applies to Facebook business pages, the same type of principle now where you have to invite people and then they have to accept. But the organic activity inside the group is still, much higher than it is inside business pages and also in your regular profile feeds and your regular news feeds. So
quick question.
Is very important.
Yes. Because basically events or groups are now similar to events as far as like having to accept the invite and really be like join into the conversation, do you still feel like groups are good for a party situation? Do you feel like you get more engagement in groups still than you do in events?
Yes, absolutely. As of right now, in a week, that could be different. But as of right now, the engagement, the organic activity inside the group is still much stronger because Facebook as a company wants to create groups. And so whatever they want to happen is where you're going to see the most organic activity, meaning they're going to let your posts, your information be seen by more people. And really at that point, everything is a numbers game, regardless of how you slice it. So if you're putting out good information and it's only seen by 10 people, then the chances of converting those for the transactional thing that you're trying to accomplish is always going to be lower. If it's seen by 100 people, then obviously the chances is higher. So inside the group, they're going to allow it to be seen by more people as opposed to your regular news feed where you're probably showing the same information to the same 15, 20 people. The percentage was 6%, now it's down to 4%. And that's if you're active in terms of how many people see your post on your page. So, if you have 1,000 people on your page, we're talking about maybe 40 people or less seeing your daily activity. And if you're really active, because I should mention this, the more active you are, so if you're posting 2 times a day, 3 times a day, you're going to give yourself the opportunity to be shared and for more engagement to happen, which means your post is going to reach more people. If you're posting once every 2 days, every 3 days, then your percentages of being seen are going to drop drastically. So consistent activity is very important in order to create reach and in order to give yourself an opportunity. It doesn't mean for sure that the post is going to be seen, but you give yourself an opportunity for your post and for your information to be seen. There is phrases that you can use that will stop your posts from spreading, like click the link or tag a friend, like this post. Those phrases actually lower your post chance for it to be seen by others. So you want to stay away from those type of phrases that kind of intentionally attempt to sell or drive people to like something. So that's something you want to just kind of keep in the back of your mind. If you need to drive someone to a link, it's better to do it in the comments of the post as opposed to the main caption area of the post. It's been noticed that there's a lot less chance of the post not still being effective if it's in the comments as opposed to being in the main body of the post. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you're driving people to YouTube or away from Facebook, those posts tend to not perform well because Facebook is basically in direct competition with YouTube. And so I know a lot of us want to put videos on YouTube, and then our most activity and our most followers, friends, connections live on Facebook. And so our first thought is to put that information on Facebook to get them to go over to YouTube. Well, Facebook don't want you to leave Facebook. So when you do that, you may still get some activity, but it's going to be far lower than if you just take that video and upload it to Facebook's platform and share it that way. You're going to get a lot more views by making it native on Facebook as opposed to an outside link. Both channels are super effective though. So I'm not telling you to not upload videos to YouTube. I'm just saying if you're using Facebook to drive activity to YouTube, it's going to be harder using Facebook. And then last but not least, your stories are becoming more and more important. And so, you know, start getting in the habit of using your stories on Facebook. I personally feel that the wheel will very quickly turn to where people are watching stories more than they're watching the main feeds. Now, there's not a lot of experts, you know, so-called experts talking about this, but I'm in the schools, I'm in the high schools, I'm in the colleges, I'm having conversations with these kids, and they're talking about the stories, and they're in their stories more than they're in their news feeds, which gives me the inclination that the stories are going to become more popular and more powerful than your actual feed and your actual posts. So I would get into the habit of making sure that I'm sharing within my stories. Your story is now, there's a blue circle that pops up around your profile picture to indicate that you just created a story. There's a camera button, I know, on the phone. I'm not sure what it is on the desktop, and that tells you how little we use a desktop, which is another thing. Get used to using mobile, because the new platforms that are coming and the new features are mobile friendly. They're not as desktop friendly. So that's another thing to just keep in mind. If you're using your phone, you're going to be much more effective. But when you utilize a story, there's a blue circle that happens. Once you get inside the story, even if you don't really understand it, it keeps you there, and it locks you in. It doesn't necessarily lock you in, but the stories are very quick, and they're very captive in the way that they look, and you can easily scroll through 5, 6, 7 stories within a few minutes, and I feel like it's a faster way to absorb information and to kind of get like a quick overview of what's happening in your timeline as opposed to scrolling down through your timeline. So that's another thought. Just kind of get. Yes.
Oh, sorry.
No,
okay, so I've only done one story. Tell me, so if I click on people's stories, it seems like they're more videos. Can you will you explain really what a story is? Like,
yes.
So for example, tonight I just posted 7 pictures of my son's senior pictures. And I had the option to do my story or Facebook, and I did Facebook. What would it tell me? I don't know the difference really.
Yeah, so Facebook is making it really easy now. Even if you don't understand stories, if you do a post, 80% of the time it's going to ask you, do you want to add this to your story? And I would get in the habit of just saying yes. When you hit the yes button that you want to add it to your stories, then it's going to automatically create a story version of whatever the post was. So if it was a post caption, if it was a picture, if it was a video, whatever it was, it's going to automatically create that inside of your Facebook story. The story is essentially it's a clip. It's like a 10-second clip of whatever it is that was going on with that particular post or moment that you attempted to create. So it's just grabbing that and then it's putting it inside of your story. You can also do your story separate from your post. You can create a story without creating an actual post for your page, which a lot of people are now only creating stories and not creating Facebook posts. And so it's more popular on Instagram. And when we get into Instagram, there's a lot more features and a lot more ways to get savvy with it. But it's becoming more and more seen and popular on Facebook. That answer? Okay. So I would say that's it. Would you guys rather kind of talk and answer questions about Facebook and then shoot over to Instagram, or should we just jump into Instagram and do all the questions at the end? What do you
I
think,
just have a
Debbie?
quick question about the stories. Sorry. So I schedule a lot of my
Okay.
posts in my group.
Okay.
So you can't schedule a story yet, correct?
Actually, you can. How are you scheduling? Are you using a third party app
I do both.
function, or you do both?
Sometimes I use SyncShare.
Okay. Yeah, I don't
And
believe
then
you can. I don't
sometimes-
believe you can. Sorry, I don't believe you can schedule through SyncShare, but you can schedule if you use Facebook's platform to schedule your posts. You can also schedule it to go into your stories as well.
Okay.
It'll give you the option if you wanted to go into your story.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Facebook scheduling tool is getting better and better. I don't know if you guys use Facebook pages or if you're using the Facebook ad manager or the actual Facebook mobile app, but Facebook pages is a really it's a really good tool for scheduling. And actually, that's another point. If you're using a third-party platform to schedule, you may notice that you don't get as much traction and activity through the third-party platforms as you would if you post natively through Facebook's scheduling platform. So I would play with it. We test, and some people agree with us. Other people feel like it doesn't matter. But I personally feel like there's a vast difference between posting and scheduling directly through Facebook as opposed to using a Hootsuite or a SyncShare or Later or like another third-party platform. So that's another thing to just kind of pay attention to and just kind of gauge how many views you're getting, and then compare to see which is working better for you. So anyway, since no one's commenting, we'll just jump over to Instagram and we'll talk about that for a little bit. So with Instagram, I personally feel that Instagram is the fastest way to grow a social audience right now. I don't feel like there's any other tool that can grow your audience faster than Instagram because of how powerful the hashtags are to identify new audiences. And then with them recently making it where you can follow hashtags and explore hashtags, where people are literally following hashtags more than they follow actual individuals and brands on Instagram, you can get really crafty with how you use the hashtags to reach new people. And so there's a few things that I strongly recommend. I recommend creating hashtag sets, is what we call it. And so with the hashtag set, you basically identify the audience that you're going after. So if I were you guys and I already have built somewhat of a downline or a network of people that you've dealt with, you've built relationship with, you've noticed certain qualities, that person would be your profile. You would take the overall characteristics of the majority of the individuals that always tend to come on board with you when you have parties or conversations or what have you. So for example, when it comes to my business, I have realized that if I meet a business owner that's over the age of 40 to 45 and owns a business and has not used social media yet, or is introducing a new social media strategy, that I tend to close those deals at a much higher rate. Like, that's the audience in the profile that I want and that I go after. I understand that client like extremely well. I know their hobbies. I know, they're typically family guys. Like, I understand that that's my general audience that I want to go after. So that's the profile of the individual that I would kind of target. So I would create hashtags around the characteristics of that person. And then you can build up to 30, you can create up to 30 hashtags. And then I would play with different hashtag sets, meaning if I'm going after a business owner who likes to travel, who likes hunting, who likes sports, etc., I'm building out all these hashtags that kind of describe this individual. And I can do up to 30. And then I would create maybe 5 to 10 different sets of 30 hashtags. And then over the course of a month, I would experiment with all these different hashtag sets to see which one is the most effective. And then when you find a couple that really spike your likes and the interest in whatever it is that you post, then you got a winner. You keep that one. And the ones that just get no activity and you feel like there's no response from, you can get rid of those. And every, I would say, 2 to 3 months, we kind of switch the hashtags up to kind of see which ones are working, which ones aren't. There's a ton of hashtag apps that you can download. One of our favorites is Hashtagger. It works extremely well in keeping current and relative hashtags that are active working for you. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Another thing you can do is you can just use Google. Like Google, if you just type in hashtags for whatever subject, topic, individual, etc., it'll populate tons of hashtags. If you post over 30, it's going to red flag you. It's not going to allow you to post that caption. And so, don't be alarmed like you're doing something wrong. Just simply remove a couple of the tags and then try it again. But hashtags are very important, and you definitely want to be using those in your comments, and then also in your stories, and also inside of your IGTV. If you use it in your stories, you can use up to 10 where it won't affect your posts. So it'll let you post more than 10, but 10 is the number where it won't demote your post, meaning it won't bother the reach of the post. So you want to do 30 on your main feed, 10 inside of your stories, and then 30 inside of your IGTV if you guys are using IGTV. So hashtags are super important. The other thing is, and I actually should have mentioned this on when we were talking about Facebook, but a lot of people feel like you can't post long captions on Instagram, and I completely disagree with that. And you guys can kind of test the strategy out to see what happens. But a lot of people feel Instagram is more picture related, it's more visual. Long posts and informational posts don't work. Informational, boring posts don't work. But long posts that tell a story, long posts that are engaging, long posts that are creative, those absolutely work on Instagram. And it's the only way to go when it comes to Facebook. You just want to make sure that you're providing either value in terms of the information you're providing, or you want to make sure you're providing value in terms of entertainment to where people feel like they're being told a story or they're being told something where it's keeping them, like on the edge of their seat to find out what it is that, how the story is going to end, and like a super enticing start to the story. Another way you can kind of build the post is create like a really engaging like headline, phrase, message, sentence, etc., and then section it off. So a lot of times I would like to make the first sentence maybe a summary of what I'm about to talk about. So now it's like you appeal to two different users. You appeal to the person that doesn't really feel like reading the entire post by like the one-liner, and then you have a line that kind of breaks everything up, and then beneath that you would add the entire post or the entire paragraph to support whatever the picture is or whatever the post was. So long form content is still super effective. And if you guys are running ads on Facebook, and I'm sorry I'm all over the place a little bit, but I just want to make sure you guys know this about Facebook. If you guys are running Facebook ads, you definitely want to use long form posts that tell a story or that emotionally connect in some type of way. If you want it to be like 90% effective. Other things work. There's a ton of ways you can run ads where it will work. But if you want to guarantee success, make it about something. Make it about you telling some type of story. And I almost guarantee you that that type of ad campaign will definitely work for you. Okay, so back to Instagram. Hashtags are super important. The next thing is the stories on Instagram. Sorry, somebody jumped in?
I just have a quick question about the Instagram. Do you suggest not posting links on Instagram as well, like you did Facebook?
Well, on Instagram, it really doesn't make sense to post links because you can't click the links anyway.
Okay.
And so if you post a link, or if you're, trying to drive people to a specific destination, you want to put the link inside of your bio at the top. And then that way they can click it and it actually take them somewhere. But if you put the link inside of your caption or anywhere inside of your comments, then they'll be able to see it. And if someone wants to, write it down or take a screenshot and then type all the words in, that's the only way they would be able to do it. They wouldn't be able to click on it. So.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome. So, where was I? So the stories for Instagram. So Instagram kind of operates like 3 different channels. You have your main feed, you have your stories, which happens at the top, and then you have your IGTV. Actually 4 channels if you include your DM, like your direct messenger. But your stories is super important to your growth now. And I mentioned how the activity and the trend is changing, where people are paying more attention to the stories than they are the actual feed. On Instagram, it's even more. Like, people are definitely in their stories, and Instagram is giving way more organic reach inside the story than they are on the actual posts. So you may post and get 200, 100, 200 views, let's just say, on a video. That same video inside of your stories will probably be double. So it will probably be 300 to 400 if you get 100 or 200 on your main feed. So in the stories on Instagram is super easy. I mean, it's literally you tap the button, hit the picture icon at the bottom, and you can add the video or the picture right into your story. It's a super simple process. But if I were you guys, I would really get into the habit of attempting to create, attempting to use your stories to document your activities that you feel aren't necessarily important or newsworthy. It's almost like it's almost like a form of Twitter. It's like Twitter was created more for the quick thoughts, you know, the passing thoughts that you just wanted to share and kind of get off your chest. Your stories are kind of acting in a similar way, except you're using a variety of different forms of content and visuals to express those thoughts. And so ideally, the way you like to set it up is if you do the original plan of creating the 24 pieces of content that we talked about earlier, your stories are kind of like your daily support or your daily activity around the 24 pieces of content that you initially created. So I wouldn't put much thought into the story posts. Like, as a matter of fact, I would put zero thought into the story posts. It would actually be something that happens that relates to that day's post that I created. And now, you know, I'm going to grab this picture, grab this video, type out this message to support that. And you can do as many stories as you want. You can do 5 in a day, you can do 50 in a day. There's no limit to the amount of stories that you can create. And what you'll find is, as your stories become more cohesive and more consistent, you'll find that it's almost like, it's like if you created a website, the goal for your website is to keep people on the site as long as you possibly can. So you're trying to engage them with your product, or, you know, let's just pretend they're looking for a particular nail polish or nail remover, or if it's fashion, they're looking for a particular dress or skirt or shoes. The idea is to keep them shopping, to keep them on that particular site. And with the stories, it's kind of like the same idea. I want you to be on Robert Courtney's Instagram page for as long as possible. And the way to do that is to keep you involved in our stories for as long as you possibly can. And then that should hopefully drive you to my page, make you engage with my content, and then make you a fan of me and my brand and the things that we're doing. And you're kind of like getting that behind the scenes look and feel of who I am. All of this, if you guys are really processing like what I'm talking about, all of this is really about building your own personal brands and making the characteristics about your personalities really stand out to bring people in, to build your audience, which will ultimately make it really easy for you guys to build businesses, build your Color Street business, and get people excited about whatever it is that you have to offer. The stronger your personal brand is, the easier your business is going to become, where you don't even have to sell anything. Like, people are just going to be drawn to you and want to become a part of your community and the things that you're doing. So we got about 12 minutes, 10 minutes. I can keep going, but I just want to make sure there aren't any questions.
Okay, so I have a question.
Okay.
I had a couple as you were speaking.
Okay, awesome.
Does Facebook own Instagram now?
Yes.
Okay, so when you're creating the hashtags for your Instagram, should they be the same ones that you're using for Facebook?
Well, Facebook algorithm doesn't really operate like Instagram's algorithm. Facebook algorithm is actually kind of broken, to be honest with you. If you use hashtags on Facebook, it definitely helps, but it doesn't give you the organic activity that it does on Instagram. So I would create hashtags for Instagram and then utilize those on Facebook. Now, if you're trying to create a hashtag to make your brand unique and to make your brand stand out and to make it easier for people to find you, that's a completely different thing. So you got to think about hashtags in two different ways. You think about it as a search engine tool for you to find other people, and then think about it as a search engine tool for people to find you. So if you create a unique hashtag for yourself and that hashtag becomes popular and you're doing your business over the next 5 years, then you'll have tons of people who are using your hashtag. And then when it's time for them to find out information about you, they could easily search the hashtag and find all the content as it relates to your brand.
Okay. How do you feel about Tailwind and Pinterest? Since Pinterest by itself is kind of like a search engine.
Yes. So not familiar with Tailwind, and I'm intrigued because that doesn't happen too often. And as far as Pinterest go, Pinterest is the leading woman platform. There's more women on Pinterest than any other platform.
Right, which is our ideal client.
Exactly. So it's definitely something that I would suggest exploring if you have that time. The reason we kind of pivot to Facebook and Instagram is because overall there's more activity happening on those platforms than the rest, and also they have the best tools built in to help you push out your brand and get your information into the in front of the right people. However, if you have the time to build out another platform, then I would definitely make Pinterest in my top 5 in terms of understanding it, searching, and identifying people that you can connect with.
Okay, and then last question, and I'm so sorry.
No,
I use Synshare for Pinterest, for Facebook, for Instagram, but it's not really, you still have to kind of complete the post. It gets it ready for Instagram, and then you have to shoot it.
You got to push it through.
Yeah. Is Synshare ever gonna be able to go into events and schedule into events anymore?
You know what? Honestly, I'm not sure. I feel like Facebook is going to continue to make it difficult when it comes to third-party platforms.
Yeah, because they want to charge you. They want you to pay.
Exactly.
Yeah, so it's better to diversify yourself.
Exactly. I would definitely have other options in my back pocket in the event that happens. Even with the popular ones like Hootsuite, there's constantly malfunctions in the posting process and glitches that always happen. And I don't think that's a coincidence. I think they're trying to get people
by design.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. Like I like to be very savvy in understanding the third party platforms, but also making sure that we understand how to just do it through Facebook itself. But there are some good, like I use Later for Instagram, which is an awesome tool where you can schedule your posts and not have to worry about it running into too many problems. And it also does a good job of giving you good analytics to help you kind of understand who your audience is, where they live, whether they're men or women, et cetera, et cetera. And then I don't know if you guys are familiar with Instagram business tools, but if you're not converted to a business page and you're still using the Instagram personal page, everybody here should definitely switch over.
Yeah.
To the business page.
Yeah.
Because that's very important. So.
Yeah. Because you can see what's effective and what times a day, everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
No problem. Any other questions?
Are you guys going to stay that quiet? It's your opportunity. You have a few minutes left.
Do we know how many people are on right now?
We had about 25. We're at 23 right now.
Got it. Good deal.
I have a question, Robert, if that's all right.
Yeah, go ahead.
You had said in Instagram something to the effect of putting like your main bits in the stories and then keeping some of it out for your regular feed.
No. So
did I have it backwards?
Yeah, you got it backwards. So your main So your main piece of content. So like for me, for example, let's just say the other day I did a speaking engagement and I got a really cool picture that came from the talk, right? So I know for my audience, if I post a picture on a stage, it's going to get really good traction. So like that was the picture that went on my page. In my stories, it was pictures of everything that happened before I got on the stage, while I was on the stage, after I was off the stage, you know, some of the conversations that I had, some of the pictures that I took with some of the guests that was at the event, you know, so I was telling you, the main picture was me being on the stage, but in my stories, you got to see everything that happened before, during, and after that experience.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you. I appreciate it. I had a feeling I was backwards. Thanks.
No problem. So I don't know if you guys are doing it, and I know Debbie and Amanda and Jackie and some of the other girls that I talked to are, but you should definitely think about doing a search for whatever you're calling your personal Color Street business for the domain. And if you do that, you want to drop your domain link into your Instagram bio. And then anytime you're trying to brand a certain aspect of the business or drive a certain promotion or a certain sale or whatever the case may be, then you can always put that link, but it's always going to be your domain, which is branding yourself, which is super important, the personal branding. So you're branding yourself or your brand, and then / whatever the promotion is, unless you just drop it on your homepage, which is even simpler. But searching for your domain is super, super inexpensive nowadays, $11, $12, $13 to grab your domain. And then to build out a site takes a couple hours, honestly, unless you just want to get real fancy. But that's another like easy way to just kind of create brand recognition and brand awareness. And, it's not nothing that is super complicated. And so it's something that I would definitely recommend, even if it's just a splash page with a name, or even if it's a domain link that just redirects to your Color Street profile. It's just an easy way to brand whatever your name is and help people kind of immediately recognize you and identify you.
So are you saying, oh, yeah, I guess I did do that. Okay. So
Yeah,
I'm still new to Instagram. So I have my website on here and I can actually touch it and it will link into it. But you're saying if I posted my website, it wouldn't.
Right. If you post your website in your comments or, under your caption, people aren't going to be able to click on it. But if you tell them click the link in your bio, then they could just easily go click the link because the link will be available. Okay.
So tell me, what were you, the part about if we're running a promotion, what would I do differently?
So if you're running, say you're running a promotion, is your website forwarding to the Color Street, or is it forward, like where is it? It's your
DebbieBry.com.
Okay. So if you're running a promotion, you could go into your website and create an additional page. And then usually on most platforms, I know for a fact with Wix, GoDaddy, Squarespace, I'm not sure what your platform is built on.
GoDaddy.
GoDaddy. Okay. So you can create a / whatever the promotion is. So like you guys just had the promotion you just told me about. What was the name of it?
Like our holiday nails.
Okay. So it could be DebbieBry.com / holiday nails. And then,
just so you guys all know, you couldn't offer any special deals publicly like that. Like I couldn't put free extra strip or something. We can't offer any extra specials publicly, but you could do something like the holiday nails.
Yeah. So, and then, I mean, if like, let's just say, for example, you didn't really feel comfortable building your own site or your own page. You could do DebbieBry.com / holiday nails, and then have that link just forward to Color Street's page that gives the information about that. So you don't even necessarily have to build anything. You could just create the link and have it forward over. But what's happening is your followers and the people that's a part of your audience, they're getting used to using you to funnel them to whatever information they need about whatever specials or whatever promotions are happening.
Okay.
And if you do that consistently, it's like, if you know that Color Street is going to offer a new special promotion, say every month, then every month you could just change the link to match or to be forwarded to whatever that new promotion is.
Okay, that's cool.
Yep.
I just have to fully commit to Instagram.
I'm telling you, like, honestly, I would switch. Like, I know how hard it is in terms of behavior, like when you're used to using a certain platform, but Facebook's algorithm is really hard. Organic reach is at its lowest point. And unless you're spending a decent amount of money for Facebook ads, the growth is going to be terribly slow. It's just, it is what it is. So with Instagram, at least you give yourself a quicker chance to achieve a decent sized audience using the exact same strategies and tactics that you would use on Facebook. You would grow double the amount of time on Instagram.
All right. My biggest issue, I don't know if this is anybody else's, is I have high school age kids, and that's like my daughter's area. So Facebook, I feel like I'm staying out of her business.
Gotcha.
I have her friends who follow me. It's a little bit of a weird, she doesn't like me posting. So it's, or like my videos through Thirsty Thursday, like all that. I haven't gone into it because I know I'm crossing a line with her and her friends.
Got it.
So that's my biggest issue, but I know I need to get
But
into those.
I about to say, and you can make the page private. You know,
yeah, that's not going to do any good. You need it public if you want them following. But I just have to watch what I post. I just have to be more particular.
Yeah, creative.
Yeah. Anything else before we hang up, you guys? Well, there was lots of great info there for sure. So everybody's ready to go start all their hashtagging and their and all their stuff, all their posting. Again, this is where you can grow you can make such a difference in getting new team members and new sales, new customers, new hostesses. I mean, this really, if you get yourself out there, it can really make a difference. And
then one other thing I should tell you guys that I didn't talk about, which is probably a whole nother conversation, but did you ever get any feedback as far as like using social media influencers?
Oh, if we're allowed to.
Mm-hmm.
Jackie had talked to them before and they said no, because she had an influencer reach out to her and they had said no. But my guess is they're going to say no still.
Okay. So I was kind of thinking through just creatively, like how you could probably change the format of that.
Yeah.
And just kind of do it more in a cross-promotional way, as opposed to doing it where they're actually like pushing the product for you. You can go live on Instagram, and then it's becoming really popular to like bring other people in. So what I was going to tell you guys is, if you guys do get your Instagrams active, you should start doing Instagram live conversations in groups amongst yourself. And what happens is, as you build your following, you can have your audience will naturally watch those conversations. And then without even having to join in, they can learn more about the business, more about Color Street, what's going on. And then that's another way you can kind of use each other to build your following. That's one thing. And then the other thing is inviting an influencer on. If you have a sidebar conversation, and let's just say someone has 100,000 followers or 50,000 followers or whatever, and you have a sidebar conversation where you're just telling them, I want to go on for 5 minutes and I want to, basically give you an overview of what Color Street is and what Color Street is all about. And then you do it through the influencer's page. They bring you into the conversation. Then all of the influencers' followers get to listen to you talk about the Color Street business.
Okay, so doing it through them, and yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
So now it's just you're having the conversation, which I can't imagine anybody having a problem with that. But you're doing it in front of their audience, which gives you a much bigger chance to grow. Yeah,
no, I've seen some of our people. Like one of our gals was interviewed by the guy who wrote The Game of Networking, Rob somebody. She was on a call with him talking what's his name? Yeah, good name. Yeah. Yeah. So I watched her podcast.
Okay. Well, see, so it's probably okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and essentially it's the same, it's the same process or platform as a podcast. You're just doing it through Instagram and you're doing it, through that channel. And so I think influencer marketing, as far as other marketers are concerned, is the fastest way to convert individuals or, have success. Like it's at the top. Influencer marketing is at the top of everything else, with like email marketing being a close second. But yeah, so that's another thing that you guys should definitely think about, just identifying some influencers that you could possibly integrate into your strategy.
Okay. My daughter has a couple of influencers on her dance team. Maybe I need to go that route. They're little girls, but they're labeled influencers already.
There you go.
Right?
That age group, that Gen Z group, is like they're the main ones that's going to be using the influencer thing. So
yeah,
most of them are. What I've heard is if you ask anyone like under 12 what they want to do when they grow up, most of them are saying they want to be influencers, social media influencers or YouTube influencers. So no more firefighters or football players or doctors.
They're all out the door.
All that's gone. It's about YouTubers now. And gamers. YouTubers and gamers.
Right?
Yeah.
Oh boy. I have 2 nephews and one wants to be each of those. They're both in their 20s.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you, Robert. I appreciate it. Anything else from you guys before we end this? Everyone's good? All right. I appreciate your time, Robert, and thanks everybody else. And everyone who couldn't be on, I will. You'll see this in the recording. I hope that you get as much out of it as we did. So thanks, Robert.
Goodbye. See you guys.
Night.
Good night.